How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
Welcome, everybody, to Story of the Fight. How you doing, Will?
Doing good. A little sleepy, but ready to rock.
Hey, you know what? My audio just went out right now. Like right now. So do me a favor, kick us off, Will. Get everybody going, and I'll be right back with us in just a second.
Okay. Yeah, so welcome to another week, Story of the Fight. Please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Take care of it now before the show starts. That way you don't forget later. Easy peasy. If you want to follow us anywhere else outside of just YouTube, it's at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Vero, even Twitch. And if you don't like watching the show, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, pretty much everywhere. Anywhere there's podcasts, you can find us on there. You can also watch us on Twitch and Twitter. We're live streaming on Twitter as well. We're pretty much everywhere. But yeah, this and like I said, at Story of the Fight on all social media. This week we had a lot of fights. We had UFC Vegas 63. We had Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul. Friend of the show, Andrew Toste, fought over here in Santa Cruz on the boardwalk. But I think what we'll do is cover UFC Vegas 63 first. And then after that, we'll talk about Anderson Silva versus Jake Paul and the boy Andrew Toste. So I don't think Ramiro has any audio still. Yeah, I don't think he does. So Vegas 63, UFC Vegas 63. Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen. Rich, maybe if you want to hop on so we can at least have a conversation and we can go back and forth. Yeah, Ramiro, maybe leave and then come back.
Yeah, man, I was trying to figure out what's up with this dude right now, but here, I'm just going to kick him. Ramiro, add yourself back, and hopefully that'll fix it for us.
At this point, I'm just bypassing the headphones, and I can hear you guys. As long as is it echoing on your end?
No,
there's no echo.
No. All right, let's just roll that way. The joy of going live, huh?
Yeah, all of a sudden, just right when we go live, your audio.
As soon as we go live, like it was working just fine before we go live, and boom, issues. But yes. So, how far have you gotten, Will?
Really poorly set up. Arnold Allen versus Calvin Kattar.
Well, first off, I want to say this night was full of fights, right? We had a lot of fights going on between UFC. We had a boxing match going on. We had some local fights going on for you.
We could get into it. I already did all that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's go and get into it. We had Arnold Allen last night versus Calvin Kattar, which I was really excited for because Arnold Allen still undefeated in the UFC. I believe he was 18-1 going into this, but had not lost in the UFC.
Yeah, it's crazy. His management has done a fantastic job because a lot of these guys that fight in Cage Warriors, they come in and they get all the hype put on them right away, and then it's like a lot of pressure to deal with, I think. And obviously they're not getting the craziest matchups. Look at like Paddy Pimblett and like some of these other guys, Jake Hadley. But Arnold Allen comes in, and people I don't think realize he's been in the UFC since 2015. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's been a slow grind to get to this point. And
which I think has been very good for him so far.
Exactly. Yeah, because now
and
he's
I think
coming
you've
into his
said
own.
This plenty of times where you're like, hey, I wish the UFC would take these stars and just groom them before they throw them into the wolves right away.
Yeah, I mean, look at Chase Hooper, who fought later on in this card.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah,
it's a little heartbreaking.
It's the opposite, right? Arnold Allen's getting this like. I mean, obviously they're completely different fighters.
I think that Arnold Allen also came in with a different skill set than Chase Hooper.
They're different fighters.
But yeah, going into Arnold Allen versus Calvin Kattar.
Mhm.
Okay, so there was somewhat of a feeling process to start off there in the beginning. Arnold Allen seemed to really be picking his shots and when it is to attack. And then the classic Calvin Kattar high guard, right? The boxing high guard, which I love to see out of Calvin Kattar, man. His boxing is just phenomenal.
Just that high guard, that lead leg, just out there ready for leg kicks, just heavy on that lead leg with the hands up.
Yeah,
He's so good at landing his. He's so good at landing those straight shots. His jab and his cross, and he'll throw them interchangeably. Right, he doesn't always throw the jab first. He'll throw the two first sometimes, and he's really long with it, and he does such a good job with that. And it took a while, I think, for Arnold Allen to kind of like figure that out, and then and then at the end of the round, Arnold Allen's circling away. Calvin Kattar charges him, tries to throw his flying knee. Arnold Allen sidesteps it, and he throws this flying knee and almost seems to like try to move it to the left while he's up. Like, look at that. Like, it's not like he threw it straight and then had to like
almost like he tried to turn as soon as he planted.
Well, yeah, he tried to turn to land it, but was also about to plant, and then lands on that right leg and just completely blows his knee out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this isn't gonna.
Do you know if an MRI was already done?
I haven't seen anything.
Neither have I.
It can't be good.
Neither have I. And the thing is, as soon as he plants, as he's turning, and you see the slow motion replay, you see a pop.
Yeah.
Like behind his knee, right? And then you're like, well, that's not good. Yeah, that didn't look good.
And he goes down, and then his corner's like, hey, man, you got the second round? You got this in you? Like, hey, your knee's completely toast, but you got this? And he's
like, hey, you got to be first. You got to be first. That's all I heard after he busted his knee. I was like, oh,
and then Arnold Allen's like, hey, I'm pretty sure his leg's fucked. I'm just going to kick it. And then so he kicks the other leg, which makes him have to lift his leg, right? His good leg, the one that's getting kicked, put all his weight on the bad leg, and he just falls again. And Herb Dean calls it. And it's like, hey, maybe don't send him out there. I mean, obviously, it's hard to say, right? Because like TJ Dillashaw fought Sandhagen with the torn ACL.
I was going to say that's probably all they were thinking is TJ did it.
Yeah, well, TJ's also let's be real. He's got some other helpers in there.
Whoa. Take it easy,
But yeah, I mean, it was I don't really blame the corner, to be honest, because he was able to walk on it. He looked like he was moving okay on it. It's not like he's a footwork heavy guy as far as like being like elusive footwork, So I'm not that mad at them sending him back out there, but I mean, in hindsight, obviously, all it took was one leg kick on the other leg to buckle him, and I mean, good stoppage by Herb, I thought,
Yeah. I mean, he turtled up. He shelled up as soon as he fell down again. He knew he wasn't going to be able to get out of that, right?
And it's like, if you're Allen, you're just going to let him stand back up and then just kick him in the leg again. Like,
yeah. Path
it's a bummer,
of least
though. It's
resistance.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's one of those. It's like a self-inflicted injury, right? There's another one earlier in the card that was not self-inflicted, and it's like, yeah, that dude, he tore his knee. Like, he did that to him. This one, it was off of like an awkward landing from a flying knee. That's not really something that like Arnold Allen did,
Yeah. If it was Aljamain Sterling, he would have said, I absolutely had everything to do with that.
Bro, I trained specifically to sidestep flying knees so that they blow their knee out when they land.
That's what he would have said. But, this kind of puts us in a weird situation now. Puts Allen in a weird situation where you have Josh Emmett, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway ahead of Arnold Allen. And he was hoping to do something that would just catapult him, and for him to be able to state his case and say, hey, I need to fight for the title next. Volkanovski, look at me. Look what I just did to Calvin Kattar. But instead he's like,
and Volkanovski's like, can't see you. I'm up at lightweight now.
Yeah. Did you see the interview with Allen after?
No, I didn't. I kind of watched that audio.
Like, they were like, yeah, Volkanovski saying that, he's still, looking to go up at 155. And he goes, man, I would too. This division sucks. That's exactly what Allen said. He's like, I'm thinking about it too. This division sucks.
Well, it just sucks too, because like, I mean, not to harp back on the Volkanovski title shot at lightweight, but like let's say Arnold Allen did have like a coming out party performance, right? And he blew through Calvin Kattar. And everyone's like, well, it's fine for Volkanovski to go up because he's already cleared out the division. But here was a potential Arnold Allen fight, and there's a potential Dariush fight up there. So I don't know. But obviously, he's not going to get a title shot off of that. He's going to have to fight.
And I mean, Volkanovski hasn't faced Josh Emmett yet, right?
Yeah, who just beat Calvin Kattar. That's the thing. It's like there's fights to be made.
Yeah.
Look, does Calvin Kattar or does Josh Emmett deserve a title shot in a vacuum with the very close win he got over Calvin Kattar? Honestly, probably not. But when you have a champ that has cleared out the division, the threshold for getting a title shot is lower. So, like, a split decision win over Calvin Kattar should get him a title shot. Why not? Let's have Volk fight against Josh Emmett, defend his belt if he can. Arnold Allen up there against Brian Ortega or Yair Rodriguez, and the winner of that gets a title shot. Like, there's fights that can be made. It's just people. I don't know.
It's just. I know
money fights, I guess. But is Volkanovski versus Islam even really that much of a money fight? I don't think it is.
You know what? I think it would draw more attention. Let's say that they put Volkanovski up versus Josh Emmett. Do you think that Volkanovski versus Islam will draw more than Emmett versus Volkanovski?
No,
honestly, I think it'll draw more than Volkanovski versus Allen.
Yeah, probably. But also, it's like Volkanovski hasn't fought in Yair. Yair's coming off a win over Brian Ortega. That feels like that should get a title shot. I don't know if he's injured or something, but
I don't know. Yair, I feel like waits a year before he fights all the time.
Yeah, Yair waits a year.
Yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, man. So sucks for Allen. Really sucks for Calvin Kattar. But either way, man, we'll see what happens with Arnold Allen here. They'll probably. I mean, why not put him up against Emmett then?
Yeah, that's probably what they'll do. It's like, what does Josh Emmett have to do to get a title shot?
And Max Holloway's still sitting at number one contender. I mean, at what point do we say maybe we put up Allen versus Holloway? And let's start mixing it up over there.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what they'll do? These are, that's kind of what happened with the Yair fight, right? He blew out Ortega's shoulder on that armbar, right?
Yep.
Ortega tried to pull out of the armbar and just ripped his own shoulder out.
Yep.
Nasty.
Aljamain Sterling had everything to do with that, just so you know.
Yeah. But to be fair, that is something that I actually do give credit to Yair for.
Oh no, 100%.
That is one that I do give credit for.
That's legit. That's legit. So we have a lot of fights to cover, and some of these fights are pretty quick. So we probably won't spend too much time on these fights, I don't think. You had a lot of catching up to do last night, huh? Because you were at the live local event.
I watched Kattar versus Allen last night at midnight, and then I watched the rest of the card this morning.
That's a lot.
Here I am.
Here, pulling through.
Witness me.
All right. The next one was Means versus Griffin. That's your boy right there.
The dirty bird. I mean, he's up there now, He's like he doesn't move as well as he used to, maybe. But goddamn, he's fun to watch still.
Not maybe.
But dude, when people dig into him, a lot of the times you'll throw to the body like a body jab or something like that because you're hoping to get a hook out of the guy. So you throw the jab, not really to do any damage, but you're hoping they throw a hook off of it so that you are prepared to land off their hook, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, I know the hook's coming. If I throw this, I got to counter that hook. Here it goes. Not with Tim Means. You go to the body on Tim Means and you leave your head there for half a second, and he's just going to rip like 4 or 5 punches on you. And then he'll slap you up just for good measure.
which we saw a lot of that in the second round.
Yeah. His style is so sick, dude.
I think he was caught off guard by Griffin's speed with the right hand.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a piston of a right hand, man.
Yeah, there's no, like you said, piston, right? There's no wasted looping anything. It's just right to the target.
And Rich, right on time here with the picture, but there's a picture of Griffin right down the middle there, right on Means' chin, right?
Yeah.
Now, so he drops Means in the first round. And when he drops him, he lands in side control. And this is where having 36 professional fights comes in handy. Where instead of trying to get into side control or anything, the very first thing he does is grab a hold of Griffin's right arm with his right arm, and then grabs a hold of Griffin's left arm with his legs.
Yeah,
and just hold on for dear life until he recovers. And I was like, God, man, seriously, that's what experience does for you, man. And this is why he's still doing it on his 36th professional fight.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat to see. And I loved, I saw more movement from Max Griffin this fight, more lateral movement.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was really impressed with Griffin was his ability to set his feet while he's working, moving left and right, and then he sets his feet really quickly to throw that punch.
And the piston. Yeah. And because he has no wasted motion on his punches, he can do that, you know? If he was doing that and throwing these looping
a lot
shots.
of power behind it. It was awesome, man. It was awesome. And then, like you said, in the second round, he starts pop, pop, pop. And those little like slap shots too. And then I specifically remember thinking to myself, like, that's weird because he's not really throwing that right hand very much anymore in that second round, like he was in the first.
And he dislocated it.
Sure did.
His elbow, right?
I think it was his hand. He said.
Oh, I thought he dislocated his elbow.
Oh, I'll have to look it up. But in the post-fight interview, Griffin specifically said, he's like, man, I think I broke my hand in the first round because I couldn't feel it anymore in the second round.
Damn. And he dropped him with it in the second round too. That's a tough round to score. How about two judges? I think two judges still gave no, just one judge gave him the second round. Weird scorecards all night.
All night, dude. All night. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. There's a fight that I was like, what?
Yeah, one judge gave Tim Means just the third round, which I thought was interesting because I thought Max Griffin, that was a clear round, I thought.
Yeah.
One judge gave all 3 rounds to Max Griffin, which I can agree with. And then the other judge gave Tim Means the second and the third also. So 2 judges gave him the third round, which is interesting to me. Maybe because Max Griffin got takedowns, but he didn't do anything with them. That's probably why. But he got multiple takedowns and had, I don't know, weird scoring lately. The second round is an interesting one, though, because it was all Tim Means outside of the flash knockdown.
Yeah.
So how do you score that?
Yeah, man, I don't know.
How do you weigh it?
Well, I still had Griffin winning this one. 2 rounds to 1.
I had Griffin win. Yeah, but the second round specifically, how do you score that?
I want to say I went first and third Griffin, second round Means.
Same. And
Means just put in so much work that second round, man.
Yeah, but he got dropped. But
he got dropped.
And how about this? If the roles were reversed and Max Griffin was doing all the work the second round and then Tim Means dropped him, I'd probably be like, yeah, Tim Means got that round because he knocked him down.
Bias, maybe? Just a little bit?
Yeah, 100%.
No, but, I feel like he did so much work in that second round. Like I said, I felt like Griffin was more hesitant in the second round. And you did see him wincing quite a bit whenever like he'd even block a shot with the right. But yeah, it was interesting scoring for sure.
Yeah,
but great performance by Griffin.
Fun fight. Yeah, fun fight. I thought this would maybe get fight of the night. There was 2 fights that I thought could have got fight of the night, and instead they're like no fight of the night. No one got fight of the night, but there was 2 I thought clear. I thought this one and then another one later, which probably should have won it, but didn't.
Vanderaa?
No, the Jacoby Rountree fight.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was probably
coming up here pretty soon. But you know what is coming up next?
Yeah.
Cortes-Acosta versus Vanderaa.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call him Waldo.
Why?
Cortes-Acosta is too many syllables, man. Waldo.
Just call him Acosta then.
Whoa, that's disrespectful, man. It's Cortes-Acosta.
Or Cortez, maybe? Just call him Cortez. I don't know.
That's Waldo.
Okay. Waldo. First name basis.
Yeah.
But dude, the biggest thing I took out of this is that Vanderaa has a chin on him, man.
Yeah, dude's a tank.
He has a chin, which isn't always the best thing to, like, as a fighter, for somebody to be like, man, the biggest takeaway is this dude could take a punch.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest takeaway from Vanderaa.
My biggest takeaway is, wow, this guy is so disciplined. And I like got some respect for Vanderaa because, it's those fringe heavyweights at the end of the top 10, it's like usually not the greatest. And he's had some performances where it's like, man, what is going on? But in this fight, I was like, dude, this guy is so disciplined, and Waldo's trying to get it out of him, and he's not giving in. He's sticking with his game plan, and I thought he was doing a fantastic job. And I was like, great job, Vanderaa, to swing it after that first round and really stick to your game plan and win that fight. That's a gritty performance. And then they're like, Waldo got it, and I was like, what the fuck? Maybe he should have broke his game plan.
Thinking about it, right? I think he starts landing that heavy leg kick.
So heavy.
Heavy leg kick. It made Waldo did not disrespect him, right? But it made Waldo start switching stances early.
Over and over. And then he's like, oh, you switch stance? How's this lead inside leg kick now?
And he starts yelling. He starts yelling at him every time he gets kicked, like out of frustration, or I don't know what it was.
I think he was trying to goad him into like, let's fucking go to war. And Vandera's like, I got a game plan, man. I've been here too long to fucking succumb to that shit. I'm about to blast your legs more.
And he did.
And he did. And it's like, again, I'm done pulling up UFC stats. I'll never pull it up again. You'll never hear me talk about stats ever again. Because outside of this card, this is the last card I'm going to talk about him. Because, I mean, these jabs that are barely touching Vanderaa, and you're like, man, look at all these significant head strikes. They call them significant strikes, but you cannot tell me that light pepper jab is worth more than these heavy outside leg kicks that's costing Waldo to switch stances. You cannot say those are the same. Those are two different strikes.
So I guess you just have judges looking at activity, right? And pressure.
It's like, who knows what the fuck they're looking at? Because it's like, in this fight, they value control. In this fight, it's volume. And in this, it's like,
well, it depends on who the judges are.
Yeah, and that's horseshit. I mean, and because it's like if you go into a fight and it's like depending on who's judging your fight, your game plan should be different. Like what? But you don't know. You don't know which judge you're getting. You don't know what game plan you need for that judge. You're just like, I'm gonna go in there and do my best, and hopefully the judge that I got likes my style. Is basically what it's up to at this point, and that's ridiculous for such a big sport now.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy, man. At the end of the day, though, I didn't think it was a clear decision for Vanderaa.
No, it was close. I'm not saying it was a huge robbery. Close. Yeah,
I would have loved to see Vanderaa attack more after the leg kick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know that Waldo has some power and he's quick for his weight class, but maybe with the leg kick and just follow it up by a jab, leg kick straight, leg kick anything else, but just follow it up with something. Because he would leg kick and then I feel like he'd wait.
Oh, 100%. Well, he was waiting for Waldo to plant, and then when Waldo would plant, he'd land it, and then he'd land it and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to wait for him to plant again. And it didn't happen that often because Waldo just refused to cut off the cage.
Yeah.
The whole fight was Vanderaa circling and Waldo just following him to the point where they were, instead of one guy on the fence and the other guy in front of him, it was just both of them on the fence the entire fight. And it's hard to leg kick somebody when you're both on the fence.
Yeah, but like you said, Waldo ended up taking that fight. We'll see what's up next for Vanderaa. I enjoy watching him fight. He doesn't have the best record in the world. I think he's what does he fall to now? Let's take a look here.
He's now 12-10.
You know, it's a coin toss.
It's a coin toss. But he doesn't complain about fighter pay. He fights like every 6 weeks. So we'll see more of him.
All right. We'll go on to the next one. This one was I was rooting for Tresean Gore in this next one. We had Tresean Gore versus Josh Fremd.
I was really, really rooting for Gore.
Did you see the interview leading up to?
I did not, but I know all anybody ever talks about with Tresean Gore is he's not ready for the UFC. He's only had 5 professional fights, whatever the number is, 4 professional fights. He's not ready yet. And it's like the guy has shown, regardless of if you think he's ready or not, the guy has shown that he has the skill set to hang. Like he is very talented.
Some of the fighters on this roster, on this card.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was really, really rooting for him just because he has so many people think he should not be here, and I don't really get it because he's lost some fights, but he has shown that he is very talented, and why wouldn't you just root for that?
Yeah. And Rich, I don't know if in the background you could start looking for the interview there. I think Dana White posted it on there for Tresean Gore and just kind of talking about his life leading up to fighting and stuff like that. But let me know if you're able to find that, Rich. If not, I'll cover it at the end. But Gore ends up getting top control in the first round, starts showing off his ability to maintain top control, right? And then, you know, we have Fremd later on that goes for a single leg while Gore's up against the cage. And when you're up against the cage and you're going for a single leg and you're leaving your head right next to somebody's hip for that long, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah, they're going to pull it.
I mean, you're going to get caught in a guillotine, right? You're giving your neck up like that. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Dude, Gore sinks in that guillotine. He's holding on for dear life. Fremd looks like a fish out of water. You know how like it flops around, like trying to. Yeah, and he did everything he could in his power, man, to get out of that. And did he use a cage at one point, like kind of like wall walk the cage?
Maybe he pushed off of it or something, but they ended up in kind of an awkward position.
Very awkward.
Yeah, almost like a clock choke, except back down instead of belly down, and he just torqued it harder than I've ever seen anybody do that. And I was like, bro, this dude's neck's about to snap. And then when he goes out, he just lets it go, and his head just smacks the mat. And Tresean Gore gets up. Look at that. That is gnarly.
Yeah.
And when he went out, he just let go, and he just like it almost like the force that he hit the mat with. It almost looked like someone like pushed him down. It didn't look like just a limp body falling. It was so gnarly.
Yeah, it was a very interesting choke. And when he landed in this position in the picture that Rich put up, it wasn't very long before you see his hands kind of just go limp. And I was like, okay, well, he's already out. It didn't take very long. And I'm sure it was the extra effort and trying to get out of it with that gnarly squeeze that was just it made it quick.
Well, yeah, he was out. It looked like remember those cars, those toy cars that you like roll back and it like winds up and then you let go of the car and it like shoots forward and it like takes off. Remember those? You like roll it back and it's like clicking and stuff. That's what it was like. It's like he wound up his head and then just let go and it was like so gnarly. Shout out
Sansan.
Yeah, congrats to our boy, Mr. Vicious, Tresean Gore, always upgrade. Yeah, dude. I mean, like we already talked about how we were rooting for him, but to see him go out and put on a performance like this was so sick because even early, Fremd jumped for a guillotine early. They kind of traded guillotine attempts for a bit, and then Tresean Gore was like,
nah.
Well, check this out because I'm about to land. This is submission of the year so far, right?
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and so I don't think Rich will be able to find it because it was kind of, a few days back, I think. But the thing I want to cover, so Tresean goes on. Oh, here it is. I think you found it right on time. God, Rich.
He's money. I'm just wondering, these setbacks that you've had to deal with, has it been frustrating, and try to balancing all that and rectify all that?
Yeah, it has. But like sometimes you could pray for something and it doesn't come how you want it to. But it doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. You just have to I never lost my faith. It's still here. I feel like it's stronger now. So I just have to go in there and apply. I already put in the work. I did the work, as much work as I could to win. So now I just got to go in there and just put my faith in God.
This video is pretty long, you know what I mean? So I don't think
that is not an easy thing to do. So I guess has to transition to the highest level.
But there's a part where he's talking about the fact that we don't know what fighters go through outside of fighting, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about his mom's battle with addiction, the fact that he really wants to do well and succeed to be able to put her in the best rehab facility possible, and he really makes you think about the stuff that we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so because of this, I'm like, look, you see the tears in his eyes during the interview. He's talking about his mom. I mean, how can you not get emotional for this guy? How can you not root for this guy?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is this has to be, so far at least, submission of the year. The only one I can think of that would be, well, my submission of the year up to this point was Paul Craig against Nikita Krylov, right? When he was getting blasted in the guard and then he throws it up and gets him. But this is, I've never seen this. Have you seen one of these?
No, dude. I thought he was going to rip his neck off.
Yeah, this was brutal, man. That's a highlight reel finish right there.
That might be a career changer for Fremd too, man. I don't know. He might have neck issues the rest of his life.
Yeah, that was fucking gnarly, man. So I hope Tresean Gore gets submission of the year from everybody because that would be cool to see. I know he got a $50,000 bonus, so that'll go towards what he was just talking about. So that's cool.
Awesome, man. And, and I hope Dana White's known for taking care of his fighters in the background too, and taking care of families and any unforeseen events. So I'm hoping that after that he helps him out and getting his mom the help that she needs. But props to Tresean Gore. I'm a big fan of him as a person, him as a fighter, and I'm hoping that he continues seeing success in the UFC and he proves all these naysayers wrong, man.
Hell yeah.
Plus, I love tough guys, man. Fighter guys, dude, I don't know why, man. Even if
I just meant no. Fighter. I love tough guys, man.
No, well, that too. No, I meant the Ultimate Fighter guys. I can watch like 3 or 4 episodes, not even finish an entire season, but I'll pick like certain people.
I'm ride or die for this guy.
Yeah. And I'll ride with that person forever. And they can have the worst career afterwards. I'm just like, man, I love that guy. Like I don't know what it is. But yeah, shout out to Tresean Gore there.
Shout out.
All right, man. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah. From
all right,
submission
we had
of the year to fight of the night.
Jacoby versus Rountree.
Yeah, this was the one that I was most excited for on this card. Shout out San Lazoya Time Fury FC 70. Lazoya is fighting tonight on Fight Pass. Check that out, Fury FC. But yeah, Khalil Rountree versus Dustin Jacoby. This was the one stylistically that I was like, this is going to be the most exciting fight of the night. I love Dustin Jacoby. I love Khalil Rountree. Both of them have such fun styles. And I was like, Rountree sometimes can kind of falter in there or fight in a... It's like he changes styles a lot. Fight.
That's one of my biggest notes.
Yeah, but Dustin Jacoby is going to bring it out of him, is what I thought, right? Dustin Jacoby, his style is going to make Rountree be like, I remember my time in Thailand, and let's go. But, yeah, I don't know. This was... it's like the first couple minutes of the first round, I was like, holy shit, Khalil Rountree is throwing with everything in his power. And Dustin Jacoby was doing enough. He's switching stances. He's doing a good job where he made the adjustment where he's landing his jabs and Khalil would just shell up. And he's like, okay, I'm not jabbing through that. So he'd grab both forearms and then throw the elbow over. And then eventually Khalil made the adjustment and stopped with the high guard. So he couldn't do that anymore. Fun fight, though. Lots of adjustments going through. But I don't know. Rountree looked visibly exhausted. Yeah, Bruce Bogart coming through saying this card blew, bro. Yeah, was not the best card.
I'm waiting for him to hop on one day and say that this card was excellent. It's been so long since he said, hey, I love this card.
Is a good card. Yeah.
Bruce Bogart, shout out to him, though.
Yeah.
But so that's my thing with Khalil Rountree. I never know which Khalil we're going to get.
Yeah.
And I remember his fight when he came back from that time in Thailand and he was light on that lead leg with a heavy Muay Thai stance and he was a killer. His striking was on point and you're like, oh my God, if we see this Khalil Rountree going forward, who knows how much he'll be able to defend. And then the very next fight, he's like, oh wait, no, that's Khalil Rountree from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We just don't know what we're going to get. And the thing that Jacoby said going into this fight is, if I survive the first round, my chances are good. And you start seeing it after the first round. Starting the second round, the first half of the second round, Jacoby did a very nice job with the shovel hook to the body. He hit him with it 2 or 3 times, and Khalil's hands started doing this. They started dropping, and he started opening up his head. So you see Jacoby starting to go and attack the head a little bit more. I think he had like 114 head strikes or something like that for the entire fight, which is pretty good.
And and the difference is while Khalil would shell up, those shots, not all of them were getting through, obviously, right? 100 strikes, not all of them landed. Khalil would be in a hospital. But it's different when Jacoby can land those shots even onto the guard versus what he was doing to Khalil, where Khalil would try to counter back and Jacoby would make a miss, right? He's slipping shots. So while Dustin might not be landing on the chin, he's landing on something, right? Which is much easier to do than swinging and missing heavy, which is what he was causing Khalil to do. And you could see Khalil's gas tank just diminishing because he's swinging and missing. But he did come kind of strong at the end of the second round. He started landing some more shots. He looked exhausted. But I don't know if it was because Jacoby saw that and was like, I can just stand in front of him a little bit more because he's exhausted. But Khalil started landing a lot more towards the end of that second round. And that third round, honestly, the third round, Khalil started landing. He finally started landing his shots.
I was surprised because, like I said, he started looking tired in the beginning of the second round. Then all of a sudden, he caught a second win or a third win in the third round. And and he made it a competitive round. How'd you score it though?
I had 29-28 Dustin Jacoby.
So
first and second rounds. So did that heckler in the crowd. I did watch that with volume.
Wait, what?
Did you watch the post-fight interview?
For this one, no.
Dude, you got to go back and watch it because it's the first time we've had a heckler in the Apex. Because, so like, I'm sure there's been hecklers during fights, right? But it's drowned out by there's like what, 1,000 people there, maybe not even that, and
not even that.
So it's silent when they're doing the interviews, and there's just one guy that's like, "We need to get new judges. This shit's rigged," just yelling shit. To the point where eventually Khalil's like, "Shut up, man," and then Bisping's like, "Yeah, I agree. Shut up." And then they kept doing the interview. It's like, what's happening? Who is this guy?
That's
but yeah,
hilarious.
Jacoby won this fight. Let's be real.
Yeah, I thought so.
And going into it, I was like, man, what is Jacoby doing? Who is his manager? Why is he fighting down? He's ranked 13. Why is he fighting Khalil Rountree? Selfishly, I was excited because it's a good matchup, but I was like, why is he fighting Khalil Rountree, who's not ranked? Where since he's come back to the UFC in 2020, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on a 6-fight win streak and he's ranked. Why is he fighting down?
Yeah.
He should not be fighting down. He needs to be fighting up. And this is why you don't take that risk, because you lose a split decision in a fight that you arguably won. And he might have just given up his rank.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
You fall out of this
fight. But this fight, in my opinion, really reminded me and gave me nostalgia for the light heavyweight division, because the light heavyweight division is arguably what built the UFC, right? Chuck Liddell, all these guys, Rampage Jackson, and it's kind of faltered. There's like a post-apocalyptic light heavyweight division from John Jones, right? He created this wasteland from just murdering everybody. He just beat everybody, took away all hope that any light heavyweight had, to the point where some of them were fighting at heavyweight for no goddamn reason. But this was a glimpse of why the light heavyweight division should be amazing. And I hope we get more of that, but it's going to take some time, I think.
It's definitely going to take some time, man. And with decisions like this, it might be tough to see it rise again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst decision in the world, because that second round, the second half of the round, well, not even the second half, the last 2 minutes, Rountree really did start landing some good shots. But I mean, maybe it's just judges who were some judges score control, some judges score volume, some judges score damage, some judges score the end of rounds. Yeah, where they're like, oh, he finished the round strong, he probably took the round. And it's like, but you forgot the first 3 minutes.
Dude, there's got to be data on judges and the way they score, right? And at what point, and I don't know if corners do this. I would have to try. We have to try to interview somebody, get somebody in, and say, hey, how much of heads up do you have on who's going to be judging your fights? Yeah, and then how much goes into okay, hey, we got these 3 judges. This judge scores the end of rounds. This judge scores damage. This judge knows nothing about ground game. We're going to have to make some small adjustments, because in reality, that's what happens.
That is what happens. But I also would not be surprised if you took all right, Sal D'Amato or Glenn Trowbridge, any of these judges, and you did the analysis. We put in the man hours to do the science that you need, right? Last week we put liquid paper on a bee,
and it died.
but you do the analysis, and they're like, what does this judge favor? And I would not be surprised if it's sometimes he favors control, sometimes he favors damage. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just judging as a whole is all over the place, and then individual judges are also all over the place, because you have guys like Tony Weeks, who's been in boxing for 100 years, and then he's scoring rounds against Adrian Yanez, who's slipping punches and having great striking, and you're the guy that should be recognizing this. What are you talking about? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sansan says story of the fight should create an MMA analytics app / stats app to evaluate the judges. I wish I knew how. I wish I knew how.
That'd be amazing. We also have George hopping on, said Ward Toasty. We'll cover that a little bit later on today. And Bruce Bobtrotter saying Arnold Schwarzenegger Allen would be a good nickname for him. Yeah. Arnold would come asking for some cash, I think.
Yeah.
Like, hey, kick down. All right. We'll move on to the next one. Okay. We have Dolidze versus Hawes. I don't know why. I'm super high on Dolidze.
Dude, he's really showing something strong.
I think he's severely underestimated, man, as a fighter.
I think so too.
For a while there, everybody's like, he's just a wrestler. He's just going to grind you out. It's got that boring fight style. Dude could strike also, okay? And the last two fights he's had, he's come in as an underdog. And both times I was like, that's off. I'm going to pick my guy Dolidze.
Yeah.
And that's 2 times I've picked a dog in Dolidze that he wins. So I love Dolidze.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's terrifying. Some of the 2 gnarliest pictures that we've had on this show, I think, come from Dolidze. When he beat Kyle Dawkins and he was up on against the fence on him, and he's like landing the ground and pound, and like one arm is back, and he's like screaming, and you're like, this guy's terrifying. And then don't show it yet, Rich. I don't know if it's in our slideshow, but there's a picture of Phil Hawes on the ground, out cold, with Dolidze about to land a big shot, and it is terrifying.
I didn't put that one on there. I know exactly which one you're talking about, and Phil Hawes' mouth is kind of open, but you see his eyes glazed over.
Video. Yeah,
it was rough.
It's a rough one.
But
yeah, the fight itself.
Yeah, dude. So Dolidze, right? The thing with Dolidze is that no matter where you get him, he's got something for you. Like I said, dude could strike. He gets taken down. He's off his back. He starts throwing elbows. From the elbows, he tries to throw up an armbar. From the armbar, he goes into a leg lock. And while it might not look like, hey, he's not extending the leg fully, Hawes is safe. He ends up twisting it outward, and you see a pop.
A really bad pop. And then some of the worst reffing I've seen in a long time.
And Dolidze, being the gentleman that he is, he might be scary, but he's an absolute gentleman. Lets him go, stands up, thinking, okay, fight's over. And Phil Hawes limps his way back to the cage.
Ripped his knee in half.
Yeah. Dolidze, I think that we do have a picture of this one. Dolidze is pointing back at Hawes like, hey, his leg's out.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Like his leg's done. Like his knee's done. And Miragliotta said, but did he die?
He didn't just say that. He cranks his leg, tears his knee in half. He lets him go because he's like, oh my God. Right? Like you can tell he's like, oh God. Just ripped that dude's knee in half. And Phil Hawes gets out of it, and he's like shuffling all the way across the cage to the other side. And Dolidze is like, I guess I'll have to go attack him. And he like kind of runs at him. And then Dan Miragliotta literally steps in front of him and body blocks him like he's about to call a fight off, and then steps out and he's like, never mind. But it's like, dude, you cannot do that. If you body block a guy
it's over.
Like you get in the way and physically make contact, not just like a touch, but like you check him with your shoulder, like it's over, because it's over. Who knows if he was going to run at him and do a flying knee and it completely changed the trajectory. Like you cannot do that.
Yeah.
And then he didn't do that.
Tough.
Phil Hawes is very tough. He got back on the leg. He started striking again. Definitely the motion was compromised. His movement was compromised.
100%.
And then Dolidze turned him into a heavy bag. He got him against the fence and rocked him with the right hand, drops him. Phil Hawes gets up. He just starts hooking and lands a good right hand on the chin that puts him out. Phil Hawes, as he's falling, a couple more shots as he's falling, all land. Great hand speed from Dolidze, who's just a wrestler.
There's a last shot he landed.
Jeez, I mean, I put in the private chat.
There it is.
That's terrifying.
There it is.
That's terrifying.
He's out, mouth open. Dolidze just standing above him, staring into his soul.
Shout out Jeff Batari for that shot.
Shout out Jeff. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy, great photographer.
Yeah.
Terrifying picture.
Terrified. But yes, man, Dolidze, love the guy. Can't wait to see him fight again. Didn't seem like he took too much damage, so I'm hoping we see him back in there soon.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, I would imagine that he's trying to get in there as soon as possible because his 2021, he fought Trevin Giles, lost to decision. Then he beat Star Poli, and then he has a fight fall through with Takiriko, has a fight fall through with Cal Dawkins, has a fight fall through with Eric Anders, has a fight fall through with Brendan Allen. All in the same year. 4 fights fall through. So if I'm him, I'm like, I'm trying to
Get
get
me
going.
back in there.
And so far, he's got 2 first-round finishes this year. So very cool.
Dolidze. He's not going to be the underdog on the next one. Watch. People are going to start waking up and noticing Dolidze is an absolute monster, bro.
Hey, give me
even Bisping.
Yeah, so the division sucks, right? Middleweight is terrible. HW Comer coming in saying Dolidze bringing the sexy back with that chest. Yeah.
Look, yeah, dude. All that hamburger meat. Yeah, that's fantastic.
But yeah, if I'm the UFC, I'm recognizing that, hey, middleweight is awful. Here's somebody, and let's get him in there with like I don't know. It sucks because maybe Brad Tavares. I think Brad Tavares has a fight though. Duplessis has a fight against Darren Till. I don't want to see him fight Chris Curtis because I don't want to see Chris Curtis lose. Imavov needs to be fighting up. Andre Muniz needs to be fighting up. Maybe Gastelum.
Oh, there we go. There's a name we haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, maybe Gastelum.
I like that. Well, hey, we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 more UFC fights to cover. A boxing match to cover as well, and a local fight that I wanted to just talk about real quick. But the Lima versus Arlovski.
Yeah, this is a bummer. I picked Arlovski because I was like, this guy's so crafty.
Me too.
But DeLima's he's too young, he's too big, and he just really just imposed his will instantly. He caught him with
over my obsession of veterans. You know I do this all the time.
Yeah. Did you pick Tim Means?
Huh?
Did you pick Tim Means?
No.
Only some veterans. Yeah, this was just a bummer, honestly.
Touche, man. But yeah, so dude, DeLima, a lot of power, ends up catching Arlovski in a rear naked choke when he's down on the ground, man. DeLima used to be a light heavyweight, fighting at heavyweight, and he moves like a light heavyweight, man, with big size. So
yeah. Shout out Bruce Bobtrotter said Tyson Chartier should be banned from coaching because he's too dangerous to his fighters. Never stops a fight when his fighter is totally done. Yeah, there's a lot of that in yeah, there's a lot of that.
He is an irresponsible coach. Hey, great point.
HB Comer. Fat Slim needs to go on a diet and go back to welterweight. I don't think he ever makes it to welterweight.
Yeah, hey, I can't say anything, man. Your boy here has put on some pounds, since your wedding. Yeah. So I can't really say anything, dude. I had to fit into that suit, and after that, I was like, I'm gonna let go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let go. All right. The next one we'll cover.
DeLima gets a choke in early, slips it in. Arlovski taps because he knows he's caught, and yeah, bummer of a fight.
Yep. We'll go Park versus Holmes.
Yeah, I like Park a lot. He's fun to watch, man. Yeah, I just remember that one fight he had. I forgot who it was against, where he was like, I had to show my gym back home that I know how to grapple because they all make fun of me for not knowing how to grapple. And in this fight, he did the same thing, dude. He did a fantastic job of getting takedowns, taking the back. Holmes did a great job off of his back or underneath, where he was able to really create moments where he could get up, but Park just had an answer for everything that Holmes was throwing at him. He was able to like ride each transition, really well and stay on top. I was impressed with his ground game.
Yeah, and I think, it was one of those cases where it took Park a second for him to understand the range that Holmes was trying to use. Yeah, he had a 7-inch reach advantage going into this. He had a solid jab that I hadn't really seen very good from Holmes before, but he had a solid jab in this fight. And then once Park was able to start closing the distance, and, I think it's one of those things where you kind of got to be careful what you wish for, because I guess going into this, Holmes was like, I'm excited to show off my ground game. Like, I'm ready. Like, I'm looking forward to the ground game with Park, which, like you said, I see good ground game. But Park, after a while, was just able to say, like, hey, okay, that's cool. Like, let's just go and get this done, flatten you out, get that rear naked choking. You're done.
Yeah, and bummer. Park lost a friend over in Korea. There was that that stampede that like 150 people died over in South Korea last night. And he found out right after the fight. It's like, oh, God.
Tough.
Super tough.
Thoughts out to all the folks that went through that, man. But
yeah, gnarly.
We'll go on to the next one, yeah?
Yeah. Huh? But great win for Park.
Great win for Park, yes. Yeah. Okay, and this is the last fight we're going to talk about in this card for the sake of time. But we had Hooper versus Garcia. And one of my biggest notes in this one is this is one of those fights that makes a fighter second guess his career choices.
Yes. And man, Hooper just needs to get it to the ground. And he just refuses to shoot on people. And I don't know if it's because he got cracked really early that he was like, it's a stand-up fight. But he just kept getting clipped. He got dropped, 3 times within like a minute?
He was dropped 4 times, but they credited Garcia with 3. Okay, but if you watch it, man, he was dropped multiple times. Yeah. Solid shots from Garcia. And the thing going into this is Garcia is explosive in the first round. He loves to throw blows. If you're Chase Hooper's corner, you say, hey, this guy's going to come at you, and he's going to come at you hard. He's going to expend a lot of energy. Let's do what you do best. Let's clinch as soon as he comes in. If you get caught with one, clinch right away. Let's see if we can take him down, and we'll go from there. And instead, I don't know. It was like, hey, anything you could do, I could do better, is what Chase Hooper thought. And he gets cracked, and he's like, all right, it's game time.
Well, a lot of people try to go. A lot of people try to go like tit for tat, right? Where like they get cracked, and it's like, I want to get one back, and it's like, but you're not gonna get one back. Like you need to shoot. You need to shoot. And I know he's been training with like Ben Askren and stuff. I know he didn't. I don't know if he's still over there, but it's like use some of that. I doubt. I mean, maybe Ben Askren is teaching him striking, and this is why he got
that might be it. That might be it.
But man, his ground game is so much fun to watch. It's just there's these guys, there's these fighters, I should say now, but Brian Ortega, Chase Hooper, Mackenzie Dern, that just cannot get the fight to the ground. And part of it's probably because the guys they're fighting and the people they're fighting are like, don't let it go to the ground. The whole camp, they're probably drilling takedown defense. I'm not going to get taken down by this monster on the mats. But they just, if any of them just had solid wrestling takedowns, they would be champs. Well, maybe not Hooper, but but like Ortega and Mackenzie Dern.
Probably we'd see so much more progression.
Yeah, 100%. We'd get some wins to give you some time to learn the stand-up and to develop physically, because Chase Hooper still looks like he's 16.
Oh man, yeah. I call him middle school Will.
That's what I look like. It is what I look like. If you pull up my yearbook.
Middle school Will Hooper.
Yeah, if you pull up my yearbook. Dude, there's a picture that someone sent me. I think it was his UFC debut, maybe his second fight when he started getting some hype, Someone sent me a picture of him getting, like, when before they go in and they're getting like the Vaseline and stuff put on them. Someone took a picture of that and sent it to me and was like, bro, your doppelganger's fighting. And I was like, dude, I haven't looked like that since fucking it's been a while. but yeah, I literally looked exactly like this dude.
Yeah,
it's
so
weird.
We got middle school Will, and the problem with middle school Will is, like I said, he gets caught.
Just didn't care about school. Just
and his hook, his straight, they looked better, like his mechanics. But the problem is that his head stays exactly in the center line as he's throwing every single punch.
Too much. He throws the 1-2 spin, and it's like you did it 3 times. It's not landing. It's not.
Yeah.
You just settle. Just settle. Do not get into a brawl, because the way you live your chin up, you're going to be the one that gets caught, not the other guy.
And that's exactly what happened. Good win for Garcia, though. Good win for Garcia.
Very good win. Yeah.
All right. Now, just wanted to cover a couple of other things before we go into our administrative things. We also had Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva boxing match last night. A lot of people, talking about, it's a shit show of a boxing match. I thought that this is the toughest opponent that Jake Paul would have faced so far.
100%. But at the same time, Anderson's 50 years old. So it's like, it's weird, because if you want to hate on him, you say he's not a boxer. Anderson's not a boxer. He's 50 years old. It's another retired MMA fighter. All this stuff, right? But if you want to give him credit, is that GSP? The hell?
Yeah, GSP was in the back too. He was
okay.
You talk about thirsty, man. Like there's this one post-fight press conference where Anderson gets in like a Spider-Man stance. Jake gets in the Spider-Man stance for the face-off, and then GSP in the background gets in the Spider-Man stance to be in the picture still. And I was like, "What are you doing?"
Hey, he deserves it. He earned it. But so yeah, if you want to talk shit about Jake, you say he's 50 years old. He's not a boxer. He's a retired MMA fighter. Fight a boxer. But at the same time, if you want to give credit to Jake Paul, he's had 4 professional fights. This was his 5th professional boxing fight.
I believe it's 6.
Show me any professional boxer that's current right now that fought someone this good, regardless of if he was an MMA fighter, regardless of if he was 50. Show me anybody who fought someone this talented for their 5th fight in boxing.
Yep.
Because we all know boxing. If anybody that has a name right now in boxing, before they fought someone good, they probably had like 20 fights under their belt. So you have to give him some kind of credit, right? But at the end of the day, he also is a 50-year-old retired MMA fighter.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I don't put too much stock in it, but he does look okay.
I've said this over and over again, though, and I agree with you 100%. So the career that I remember the most following,
George says Lomachenko. I didn't watch the Lomachenko fight. I don't even know if he won or not.
The thing I remember the most following like a fighter was Miguel Cotto.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's when I was that's when I was in my prime, Will, and
prime boxing watching.
Yeah, prime boxing watching. And I remember watching Cotto from the time that he was like 5-0, moving his way up. I was watching HBO boxing matches, and he'd be on the undercards, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember him fighting, I guess, fighters who you'd consider cans, right? Dudes that are like 19 and 20.
It's normal.
Yeah. And again, this is Miguel Cotto we're talking about. He's considered one of the best fighters in boxing that we've seen, right, in our generation. And nobody said anything. That was normal. It's normal. But Jake Paul, with the amount of attention that he's getting, and everybody's saying, well, fight a real boxer. Guess what? He tried.
It's true. He did. And shout out to George. He's saying he meant Loma. He fought tough guys within his first couple fights. And he did. But also, like George says, but you can argue he had ample amateur experience. Before Loma went pro, he had a career as an amateur boxer. And yeah, but you do have to give Loma credit for that, because he did kind of go straight to the wolves when he started his professional career. But he's an outlier. That's not the standard.
He's an absolute outlier. I was going to say, how many fighters do we know like Lomachenko? He's one of a kind. So again, Jake Paul is following the path that a lot of other boxers have followed. Yes, he's getting more attention.
It's just he gets the spotlight. That's the only difference.
Spotlight, and he gets paid more than a lot of these other boxers, which a lot of people hate on.
And he got Anderson paid, so I give him credit for that.
Yeah, and he's getting other fighters paid too, more than they usually get paid. Look, at the end of the day, Paul gets on my freaking nerves.
Yeah,
something about the guy.
Is there something about him?
Something about him just makes me want to put one right in the suckle.
Yeah,
but
right in his suckle, Jesus.
but I gotta give the guy credit, and I gotta give the guy some respect for what he's doing. He's drawing more attention to fighter pay. And people are like, oh, well, he's getting more attention for himself while he's doing that. Yeah, maybe. But you know what? He's also drawing more attention towards fighter pay. He's also drawing more attention towards a fighter union and towards fighters having some type of health benefits after. Like, he's drawing attention to the things that are important in fighting right now that fighters aren't getting.
Yeah, and I don't know. This fight, outside of the knockdown in the last round, it seemed like this fight, it kind of just went for, George says he's easily got one of the most punchable faces. 100%.
Absolutely.
But, and Bruce Bobtrotter says, how will Jake and Anderson do anything Bjorn Rebney and all those other assholes weren't able to do with last union? Riddle me that, bitch. Yeah, at the end of the day, there will be no fighters union. It won't happen. Because fighters, anytime there's a hint of a union, the UFC or whoever it is starts offering a fighter something a little bit more, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll turn my back on that because that's probably not going to work, and this is real right now for me.
And the thing that we need for a fighters union to take off is we're going to need Volkanovski. We're going to need Stylebender. We're going to need, Ngannou. We're going to need all the big names to step up and say, hey, we're going to join in this fighter union. It's going to happen, but they're the ones that get paid the most.
Yeah, and remember the last time there was a high-profile guy not top talent, but high profile guy who was talking about this. It was Masvidal, who was very outspoken about it. And then they're like, hey, do you want a title shot that you don't deserve? And he was like, never mind about all that fucking union shit. I'll take this title shot.
Wait, does that come with pay-per-view points? Okay, we good.
Yeah, Bruce Bobtrotter says, but there were scabs in baseball too before a union really worked. It is possible to work. Yeah, it's just going to be really tough. Baseball is very different, though, because obviously it's a team sport.
But it's got to start somewhere.
It does have to start somewhere.
Maybe Anderson not having ties with the UFC anymore. Maybe Jake not having ties with the UFC. Maybe this is what gets the ball rolling. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Probably not, but at least people are talking about it. But yeah, this kind of seemed like a sparring match. If anything, outside of the knockdown, it seemed like Anderson more lost this fight with inactivity than Jake did win the fight.
I didn't understand the 2nd and 7th round. I don't know why you took those rounds off. Or the first, I'm sorry, 1st and 7th.
I mean, the first I understand because he's going to make the reads on Jake because he's a counter striker. The 7th,
he threw one punch.
Yeah, but he's got to make the reads. But also, he's 50, so he was probably tired. You know what I mean?
True.
He's 50 fucking years old.
And look, again, I want to give Jake some credit. As much as I hate doing it, his footwork looked improved. Okay?
It looked improved.
His head movement looked improved. His work off the ropes defensively looked improved. And I'm not sitting here saying he's going to beat Canelo. He's going to beat this person. He's going to beat that person. No, I'm saying that for his 5th or 6th fight, whatever it was, that you continue seeing improvement time in and time out every single time he goes in there. Okay, he's fighting better fighters than cans in Anderson Silva. And who knows where this goes? We'll see. Is it entertaining? You want to know the sad truth? It's very entertaining.
Is it entertaining?
I thought it was super entertaining.
You liked the fight? You thought it was a good fight?
I think everything leading up to, the drama behind it.
But the fight itself?
The fight itself, I think that we saw improvements out of that. That was my biggest takeaway. That you know what? Yeah. My biggest takeaway is that I see, like Jake talks about putting in the work. He says, I'm obsessed with this. I work out every single day. And my takeaway is that I believe it. I do.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously he's got so much money in the bank that he can he can hire the best trainers and just fucking do nothing but this. George says, killing you, bro. Hey, George, how about this? I'll say what probably nobody wants to admit, but I'm sure everybody has thought of it. They're setting up the Nate fight, Nate Diaz versus Jake 100%. Paul in boxing. And guess what? Jake is going to beat him. And it breaks my heart, and I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the fight doesn't happen because Nate is not going to win that fight.
But he'll get paid.
He'll get paid, but it sucks because I don't know. If that fight happens, expect Nate to get absolutely rocked.
Look, and George says you're killing me. Even Rich, the casual in the background, saying me too, dude. Look, I get it, but I'm not saying I'm happy saying this. I'm not saying that I'm a Jake Paul fan. I'm not saying any of this. I'm saying I'm giving respect where respect's due, man.
Yeah.
The guy's put in the work. I've seen improvement time in, time out. That's it.
Yeah. George says Jake versus Nate has no business happening except the business is the money. So it does. Bruce Bobtrotter says Nate is little compared to Jake. Aren't weight classes relevant here? No, they are not. Judging by Jake's last few fights, weight does not matter because this is celebrity boxing and it doesn't matter. The weight doesn't matter.
Even if they do some type of weight at 182, which Jake can make, Nate cuts down a little bit, right to 170. They'll figure out a way.
Dude, no, this is what's going to happen. The weight class will not matter. The weigh-ins will be a sham, and Nate is going to show up out of shape, and Jake's going to be juiced to the tits, and he will land that overhand right because Nate is also 50 fucking years old and has always been very, very, very hittable. He will get hit and he will get clocked. Jake has probably 30 pounds on him. Weight classes matter in the fight, but in this context, they do not matter as far as the fight getting made or not getting made. It does not matter. And they're hyping up the fight. They've been hyping it up a bunch. I hope Nate is just using this hype to elevate his exposure and the fight never happens, but I don't know.
We'll see.
I hope it doesn't happen because it's not going to be fun to watch.
All right. Got one more fight to cover. We had your boy, Andrew Toste. fighting last night. What was it? Central Coast Fighting?
Central Coast Fighting. Yeah. CCFC.
Right?
Down at Coconut Grove on the boardwalk.
Was the backdrop nice?
Yeah, it was sick, dude. You got the beach and everything. It was sick.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
14 fights, I think it was. 13, 14 on the card. 13 actually happened.
Toste had an opponent change, right?
Yeah, like day before. Guy who was supposed to fight, I grew up with, played Little League with him and stuff. He said that he slipped a disc or something like that in his neck or something like the day before the fight.
And calling those Tresean Gore guillotines.
Yeah. So yeah, they new opponent. Damn, look at that. New opponent. Start the fight, and dude shoots on him immediately. Ends up getting the takedown. Pretty big takedown, right? Toste did a good job, recovered guard, but it was just pretty much a round of control. It wasn't Cesar Moreno. Where Cesar Moreno was the guy he was supposed to fight. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing on the second round, though, that I loved about Toste is he came out with that urgency, man. He knew that the first round didn't go his way. The urgency changed, and then his ability to gain the underhooks really quickly as soon as his opponent tried to take him down was awesome.
Yeah, the second round, and he's out at Ant Dogs now over in Gilroy, so it's like guys working with Cain Velasquez, DC, all these guys. So like, it's a very legit gym over there in Gilroy, and I talked to Toste after the fight, and he was like, "Dude, we knew, for one day's notice fight, we knew he's going to come out there and do one thing, and whatever he does, that's what he's going to do for the entire fight." So he shows up in the first round, shoots the double leg, right? Ends up getting a takedown, top control, all that stuff. So they're like, "Hey, second round, guess what he's going to do? He's going to shoot for a takedown immediately." And he did. Toste, fantastic job defending the takedowns. Like you said, getting him on the cage, landing those knees to the body, vicious knees to the body.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the third, I think it was the third round, he hits him with like a clock choke, a no-gi like clock choke, where he's
the bulldog choke?
Yeah, he's got him, and Toste wall walks with his feet on the cage to get more leverage on it as he's cranking him. So gnarly. And like the crowd was going crazy. It was so sick, dude. There's a video on CCFC's, I think it's on their story. Someone was cage side, like right in front of them while he was doing that choke, and it's like up close. So gnarly. Didn't get the tap, but it looks so gnarly.
He wall walked so high though.
That dude, it was crazy.
Roll off to the side because of it, and then Toste ended up in a bad position, but he regained position really quickly after that. Toste, man, like I said, just being able to show his ability to make adjustments in the second round.
Yeah,
his cardio out of all the fights I've seen has looked the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, dude looked in shape for this one.
It was fantastic. Hey, but this is a shot that I got from my TV. I'm laying in bed, and this is the only shot I got of Toste getting the belt put on him, man. And I put it on my story. Shout out to Toste, who has supported the podcast since the launch. Really, we interviewed Andrew Toste.
He's been on the show
a few months ago, right? And he's a fighter over in the Central Coast in California. So just props to Toste. Very, very proud.
2 belts.
2 belts, 2 divisions, right?
Yeah, 145, 155. You could tell 145 is where he should be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it was cool too, because while we were there, oh shit, that's me right there in the back.
Where?
On the left. On the far left, top left corner, that's me.
Wearing the Story of the Fight shirt?
Yeah. But that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was cool. We got there. Me and Katie got there. I got tickets for Brian, and then his coworker and his coworker's son, and then Brian brought another friend also. Dom was the fight doctor, so she was there because she's a paramedic and all that stuff. So, so I'm there. Katie's there. Dom's there. Brian's there. And then all of a sudden we're like watching and stuff, and all of a sudden Coleslaw just like walks up behind me. He's like, "What's up, dude?" He came with somebody else.
Just out of nowhere.
So, yeah,
that's
it was a cool
awesome,
night.
Man.
It was fun stuff.
All right. Well, hey, we're already reaching an hour and 10 minutes. Congratulations again, Toste. Let's move on to a moment of silence for the fights that we lost, man.
Yeah, on the UFC card. Let's see. Let me go back to that. Oh, we have it on now. That's so great.
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, Edson Barbosa versus Topuria is obviously the big one. I think Barbosa tore his ACL, right? He had to get surgery. Something nasty. So now they're doing
Cater's
Topuria
coaches
versus.
would have tossed him back out there, though. That's all I know.
Yeah, same with Phil Hawes. And hey, maybe throw the towel in when your guy's knee gets ripped to shreds, huh? But and save him a vicious knockout. But that fight would have been sick. Topuria is going to fight Bryce Mitchell now. Clayton Rodriguez was supposed to fight Vinicius Salvador. Salvador pulled out, so they matched him up with Cody Durden. And then he's like, actually, I don't want to fight anymore. Too many opponent changes. So he pulls out. Cody Durden fights anyways. Drakkar Klose was supposed to fight Mark Madsen. And he tore his ACL. Gnarly.
Rough. But there was some monies handed out last night, huh?
There was some. Yeah, we got Tresean Gore for his submission of the year. Got 50 grand. Dolidze for his murder. Got 50 grand. Steve Garcia got 50 grand for beating up a high school kid. And Rodriguez got a performance bonus for beating Josh Weems. Got an anaconda choke. I didn't catch that one. I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
It was pretty good. Man, but again, for the sake of time today, I was like, that's a lot of fights to cover. So
we're already an hour and 10. So,
all right. Well, that's all we got for this week. A reminder for everybody, this is your first time watching the show, listening to the show. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you know whenever we are uploading anything new. And then you can find us on Spotify, Breaker, Podcast Radio, Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found, including Anchor FM, and also on social media, Will.
Yeah, it's at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, Vero, everywhere.
And it's the same. Story of the Fight everywhere. Like, you can't miss us. Special shout-outs, of course, going out to Sansan, HOB Comer, Bruce Bobtrotter, who didn't like this card, George. Whenever anybody joins us live, it just makes the podcast so much more fun for all of us. And
makes the show better in general.
Yeah, just so much better. Sorry for the technical difficulties today. I know earlier today, for some reason, my audio was just not coming through my headphones. Will's camera just disappeared. I don't know what's going on. It's a crazy Sunday. Sansan also pointed out Carlos Zoya fighting on Fury FC 70. I believe it's tonight, right, Will?
Today. Yeah. Shout out Landry Ward also is fighting for Combate today.
Landry Ward, also another alum, Story of the Fight, fighting Combate. So a lot of our alumni fighting, Will, coming through successful.
George saying, I like this show. I'll definitely give y'all a sub and follow everywhere. I'd be foolish not to.
Hey, thanks. Shout out to you, George. Appreciate it. All right, everybody.
Next week we have next week we have Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos and Neil Magny versus Daniel Rodriguez.
All right.
Fun.
Well, there we go.
Fun stuff.
And
also, Jelton Almeida is fighting Max Grisham. That's fun.
Will, did you know that this podcast is produced by Richard Bustos? Probably not.
Oh, I did know that. I was waiting for a clap or like a air horn or something.
He wasn't ready. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight.